Hey everyone, it's Today I'm gonna be sketching and trying out new things. I just bought some markers. I have some Copics with me and another brand that's not as expensive. I haven't used a lot of markers in my life, so I think this may be the first time I'm using them. But that's beside the point. Today I'm just gonna be trying all of these stuff out while I answer some of you guys' questions. Now, as the sketching is going on in the background, I'm gonna try to edit some information into the video, but essentially this whole video is gonna be me answering the questions that you guys submitted to me. It's good to start with the basics about me. The very first one is Denise asking how old I am. I feel and look so much older, but I actually am only 24. The next one is, am I in school or in college? I graduated about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm actually a licensed teacher. I just never got the chance to use that license. The next one is, how long have I been drawing? And someone asked me to just do a quick walkthrough of my whole art journey. So yeah, I began drawing like a lot of people did. My oldest drawings that I can remember are the dinosaurs that I used to draw on our bedroom walls. But I feel like I actually did start drawing more as a hobby when I was maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade. I remember drawing a lot of anime, and I feel like I really hit my stride into really taking it as something that I enjoy doing when I reached maybe the 6th grade, when I started getting compliments for my drawing. And I really liked that because I wasn't that good in school, and so I feel like I latched onto it enough to at least do it a lot more. And then after that, I sort of just plateaued. In high school, I discovered this thing called grid drawing. 2 of my classmates actually went to art classes and they told me about it, and it kind of made a lot of sense to me, even though I just heard about the technique like once. I feel like it made drawing a lot easier for me. And so for a few years I started plateauing with my progress, because that's all I was just doing, is drawing with the grid technique. And if you guys don't know what it is, it's like a technique of copying a picture where you use grids to break down the whole picture into smaller squares or smaller sections, and so they're easier to copy. And because for a lot of people, realism and making a drawing be as close to a picture as possible is a very impressive skill, I really pursued that. I really kept on doing that for 5 years. That's all I was doing, and I really think it took a toll on my progress. My skills weren't improving that well because I was so dead set on this realism thing, and I feel like when I finally started to venture out of just doing the grid, it put me a couple of steps backward, and my outputs in my drawings were looking a little bit worse than what I used to draw, and so I wasn't getting as many compliments as I was before with my artworks. And this was really important for my progress, because I felt like it was a turn where I really had to decide that what I wanted to pursue with my art isn't what other people would think looks good, but ultimately it's about what I think and what I want my art to eventually look like. So after all that time, it was a really tough process for me to go back into drawing, and that's when I decided to take it seriously, a step into the right direction, I feel like. And so it was like that for a while, and I think that's where I am now. Okay, so next question, how long have I been taking it seriously? And I think, yeah, that's a better indication of where I am now. It was 2016 when I completely shed my grid technique exclusive drawing. Is that English? I still use it sometimes for commissions, but that year I told myself that I should just draw for a whole year freehand without using it, and it was a very hard journey for me, but it worked out in the end. A lot of my progress happened in that year. So that's when I think I really started taking it seriously. So that's 5 years now. So the next one is, how often do I practice my art? Not as often as I should. I probably do it once or twice a month. And when I say practice, I mean like actively trying to study things that I didn't know before, or working on my line work, trying different mediums, things like that. Things that aren't just drawing for my enjoyment. That's what I would consider studies. Another question I have is, how do I balance being a mom and a wife while also pursuing my hobbies? Well, first of all, my husband and I live in different countries. He's in the US right now and I'm in the Philippines, so our time zones don't really match up. A lot of the time, most of my time is spent on taking care of my son. I work when my son sleeps. I get about an hour at noon and then 3 or 4 more at night. I've had other parents ask me how I do it because they know it's basically impossible to have free time when you're a parent, especially if you're a stay-at-home parent like I am. And so the only real answer is that I sacrifice a few hours of sleep so I can draw. When it comes to my work routine, I usually divide my time between my personal studies and my videos. Before, I used to spend a good chunk of it with my commissions, but now I have raised my prices significantly so I can lift off some of that workload. And so now, if I do have some time in the afternoon, that's when I do my sketches, and I record my videos at night. So yeah, my videos take up most of my work time, and I feel like my videos would take a little bit longer than other people's videos, and that's because I spend a lot of time writing scripts for my usual videos. This is because English isn't my first language, so I want to plan out everything I need to say so I don't stray too much from the topic. So yeah, almost all of my videos are scripted except for my sketchbook tours, my art hauls, and this one. And then after that, I have to spend a couple of more days editing. So yeah, these days, most all of my work time is spent on me making my videos. And that's about it for my work routine. Other than that, I'm just a mom most of the time. There's also a question about, how do I balance my study and work? Art studies, I only do them when I feel like I don't know what to draw and when I'm feeling unmotivated. And so I use that time to just force myself to learn as much as I can. And I think of it as like school. So I'm already not enjoying it anyway. I might as well learn something. How long did it take to improve my drawing style? I think after learning some of the basics that I needed, it wasn't that hard. You only really need to work with what you have. My style is mostly influenced by the mediums I used. If I had to put time on it, I think I would say it took maybe a couple of months to get comfortable with my own style. Next question is my favorite. What's it like being an artist in the Philippines, and did I struggle a lot, and is it an accepted profession? I feel like if you live in a developing country where most people only earn enough to comfortably live, a lot of people will think that when they spend money, it has to be in something that's, I guess, substantial. So I don't think it's as accepted as a profession over here. I mean, you get a lot of praises for it. When you actually decide to pursue it as a career is when people start to raise their eyebrows. I was really lucky to be able to start accepting commissions, which is the only way I have been able to make any kind of money with my art, because my husband supports me financially. Before that, my family did. And especially with what I charge for my commissions, I really don't think I would have been able to earn a livable income out of them. So not everyone is as lucky. So yeah, that's how it is over here, at least from my experience and just from my own observation. Take it with a grain of salt. This question is really fun. Do I listen to music when I draw? The answer is no. Sometimes I do, but usually when I draw, I put my iPad on split screen and watch different shows. Shows that don't need a lot of my attention. And so I've been watching a lot of things like Catfish and 90 Day Fiancé, things like that. A couple of months ago, I listened to the Dune audiobook, and that's mostly it. Yeah, music is too distracting for me. I would just stop to sing all the time. This next question, who is my favorite artist and why? I'm inspired by a lot of people I see on Instagram. My absolute favorite, I think, is Lois VB on Instagram. Most people know her as Loish. I love her style. I love her choice in colors. I just love all of her artworks. Some other artists I look up to are Janice Sung, Kim Jong-gi, and so many more. I just follow a bunch of other artists on Instagram, and I'm inspired by them every day. This next question is from Art.Dan.Pol TV on Instagram. He asked me what made me share my art to people, and because he has difficulties in knowing what people would like to see, and so he's asking me what made me share my art to other people. First of all, just do it. Just do it. Don't even think about what other people will think, even though validation is a very good thing. It will come in time, but if you want to go ahead and share your art, just share it. The next question is, do I draw for a job? And how did I know I wanted to do art as a career? It's really hard because I've stopped doing commissions. I'm not doing as many as I used to. So for now, I actually don't consider it as a job because I'm not being paid for it yet. I am looking at YouTube as something that I should invest in because it feels like it could be achievable, but I don't think it's a job yet. As for the question, how did I know I wanted to do it as a career? It would just be the dream to earn money doing what I love to do. These next ones kind of relate. How did I get my art style? And what or who inspires my art style the most? My art style is actually inspired by my mediums and working with what I have, and so I feel like it's always different depending on what I use because mediums have their own strengths and weaknesses. A big part of figuring out your art style is really to just know how to showcase the strengths of every medium. Like, for example, highlighters, I love drawing with them. They're very sheer, and so I use them to just add color to my line work. I don't want to do full pieces with just them, and so it needs to have a strong foundation of line work. So yeah, that's kind of how I develop my art style. What's the hardest piece I have ever had to make? The hardest piece I ever had to make was for a book cover for a publishing company because they gave me a lot of direction, and so it's very hard to create something from scratch, especially if you're trying to produce something visual from someone's vision. So yeah, that took a long time for me to finish, and even though I had a lot of help, it was still the hardest for me to do. What resources did I use to better my art? I'll just sound like a broken record. I would always recommend Proco's YouTube channel for improving your anatomy. Someone asked me which specific videos I watched. If you want to just go down to the very basic concepts, I think the videos that I watched are the RoboBean series of videos that he has. I feel like that is what people should watch too, if they don't want to overwhelm themselves with the whole human body and all that. Next question, have you ever felt unmotivated, like you want to make art but your body doesn't want to cooperate? Yes. A lot of the time that this happens to me, and I think it comes with being a mom where I feel like I can't waste any free time that I do have. And so when I don't feel like I want to draw, I just take that time to study. And like I said before, I treat it as like me going to school. You know, I don't want to do it, but I have to. It's beneficial for me in the end. This next question is really fun. What's my favorite color? My favorite color is red. I try to put that into every drawing that I have. It's not cool toned, it's not warm toned. You can use it for both. And I know most colors are the same. But you know, yellow, you just usually consider it a warm color. And then blue, of course, it's a cool color. Red is the in-between, and that's why I love it. This next one, what is my cheapest and most expensive art supplies? My cheapest art supplies are actually the ones I use the most, my ballpoint pens, which I am using to do the initial sketch on this one. I try to use them because it's very telling with what I need to improve on, because you can't erase it. Your mistakes are always there, it's noticeable, and so it's easy to figure out what you need to work on. And my most expensive art supplies are my whole Vience full set. My husband gave it to me. It was the full set in the wooden box, and he got it from Japan. It's such good colored pencils. I wish I could sing praises about it all day, but not a lot of people have it, so it wouldn't make sense for me to make a video out of them. But they're such great pencils. If you do have access to them, just go ahead and buy them. They're great. This next one is for watercolors. What did I struggle with the most with watercolors, and how did I overcome it? When I first wanted to start out with watercolors, what I really struggled with the most was just the whole logistics of using watercolors. It looked so fussy to me, like getting 2 jars of water before you can even draw, getting your own brushes, getting a palette. It just seemed like such an expensive medium that I was so intimidated by it. And so just taking out some of that fuzziness was more getting what's expensive. So I got a set that basically takes away most of that. I got the Sakura Koi watercolors, and it's so great. It comes with its own water brush, so I don't have to have a jar of water with me when I draw. It's very portable, so I can just carry it around whenever I want to draw. There's a lot of color options, at least for the ones that I got. Those colors are good to have when you're on the go and you don't have the time to mix more colors. And so yeah, it really took the pressure out of starting out with watercolors for me. And that's why when I get questions about what do I suggest for a beginner with watercolors, I suggest those the most. And then get good papers. That's really what's important with watercolors. This next question is asking me which one I prefer between my Mijello watercolors and my white nights. I like my white nights better. That's because the color options are more my style. The Mijellos have very vibrant colors, and those colors don't usually come up with what I like to paint. And so the white nights just have a better color options for me. I do like the reds on the Mijello, but overall the white nights I feel like are what I would buy again. They're also cheaper than the Mijello, which is... Do I have any tips on finding my art style? Yes, work with what you already have right now. Don't think you have to buy different art supplies to really start getting into art. Try different things, even those ballpoint pens you have lying around, crayons that your little brother left behind. A lot of finding your art style is exploration of different mediums, I feel like. When it comes to painting, is exploring different brushes. This is something that I just discovered a while back, is that different brushes could influence the overall look of your painting by a lot. And so if you do have different kinds of brushes, try to see what is most comfortable for you. Try to see which ones would bring out the results that you would like better. I think that's just the key to getting a comfortable art style with painting. The next question is, was I ever afraid to try out different mediums? I don't think so. I feel like it's mostly excitement for me because, like I said, different mediums would mean different art styles. And so mostly I'm just excited to try out different things. What is my favorite art piece? My favorite art piece is this one, because I just feel like it's my own style, even though nothing is really new anymore. I know someone else has probably done this before, but just the way I got to this, it was very organic. A lot of the times when I draw, I try to think about everything as much as I can, and sometimes, like this time, things just happen, and I really like how this one turned out. How do I choose my color combinations, and do I have any art tips? when setting a mood for a piece. How I choose my color combinations is pretty simple. I try to look at the reference photo and see what is the dominant color for each photo. I try to work around that. I'm not always gonna copy every color that I see on the reference photo. Like if the dominant color is a cool tone color, I would make all the other colors cool toned. When it comes to setting a mood for a piece, especially if it's something that's different from the reference photo, I really just base it on the reference photo still. If the dominant color is something like green and I want the photo to still look a little warm, I would add more yellow to that green or use warmer sort of green. That's just how I do with all the other colors. And then I would try to add like one other color that's a cool tone, just to break apart the rest of the painting. This next one, what is my favorite medium? I don't know if this is a medium, but what I like to draw with the most are my ballpoint pen, because they're the most comfortable for me to draw. I'm never pressured by them, and I love that about them. When did I start doing commissions? And do I have any tips for someone who wants to start doing commissions? And also, how much did I charge? I don't know when I really started doing commissions, probably 7 or 8 years ago. But when I was first starting out, I was so uncomfortable putting a price on it, so I would just let other people give me as much as they think the drawing deserves. But as soon as I became a mom, that's when I really started to value my time. And so that's when I also put a fixed price in all of my paintings. I think I started with $10 for every person that I draw. I feel like that's a good base point, but that's also very low, so I wouldn't recommend anyone else doing it. And then for the longest time, my base price was $20 for every person. I think that's a better price to put. A lot of people also do hourly. I feel like that's the best thing for artists to make a livable wage with their art. My one advice though that I have a hard time following is never do art for free, even if it's family and friends. If they really are your friends and they do care about you, they'd value your work and your time more, I feel like. Also, another tip for if you want to start doing commissions, if the opportunity presents itself, just go ahead and do it. Just make sure to give them a fixed price, because most people who want art pieces done are people who are willing to spend money on them. Even they just need to have a fixed price so they can give it to you. If you don't give them one, you'll risk being severely underpaid, because most people wouldn't know the amount of time that you spend on your artworks. So yeah, just have a fixed price and stick to it. That's mostly it for commissions. How do I do traditional commissions when a client wants a revision? So if a commission is mostly just me painting straight off of a picture, I do my artworks traditionally, and I don't usually get a lot of people asking for revisions. But if it's minor, I just go over it with white ink and colored pencils. I think that's the best way to do corrections with paintings and other kinds of drawings. But if it's a major revision, I just do the revision digitally, especially if I'm sending it to them in a digital format. That's just the best way to do it. But if I know that a commission is gonna need a lot of revisions, if it's something like a family portrait where the client doesn't have a family photo, they just have individual photos that they want to be stitched together, I just make sure to tell them that this is gonna take twice as long if I do it traditionally than if I were to do it digitally. So most of the time they're just okay with me doing it digitally, and that's how I do those commissions that require a lot of planning. Do I have any tips to get over the fear of just putting down the colors when painting and not overthinking it? Yeah, I used to have the same problem. The way I overcame it is to do a light wash of paint. If it's watercolors, I make sure it's really watered down, and I choose a light color that I know I'm gonna be using for the actual painting, and I just do a light glaze over the whole subject. That takes the fear out of starting the actual painting for me. Another one is, what tip really helped you with your art? And what's my absolute favorite thing to draw? The tip that really helped me with my art is to just draw as much as I can. And I really think that that's a big factor in improving, and eventually the improvement in your skills will come over time. And you even just know things instinctively without actually studying them. And that's a great thing. My favorite thing to draw, I used to say that it's people's faces. I used to draw a lot of portraits, but now that I'm evaluating all of my artworks over the past couple of years, I feel like it's just people in general. It's not focused on people's faces anymore. It's more capturing someone's personality in their photos. That's what I love to draw the most now. Also, a weird thing that came from the past couple of years is drawing clothes. I just really enjoy doing it now. I didn't used to before. So those are the things that I love to draw the most. How do I know when an artwork is complete so I don't overthink it? The thing that I do now is I take photos of my drawings, and if it looks good in the photo, then I'm done with it. Sometimes there are still things that I want to go over or redo, but I've learned to accept my mistakes in my drawings, and sometimes it's even its own personality, so I just leave those out, and that's how I tell myself that I'm done with the painting. What kept you motivated when you first started doing art? What kept me motivated when I first started doing art was getting compliments from a lot of people. My friends and family are the real MVP for saying my art looked good even before they actually were. That kind of motivation really kept me going. So I was really lucky to be surrounded by those kinds of people, and I credit them for me never losing my passion at all. What are my favorite art supplies, and do I have any brand recommendations? I also had a question about inexpensive art materials, and I can't find that question anymore, but I feel like I was asked that before, so I'll put that in there too. A lot of my art supplies aren't that expensive. I do have some expensive ones here and there, but I don't consider them to be better than my cheaper ones. If you're someone who works mostly with graphite and pencils, I recommend the Staedtler Lumograph black pencils. They are really dark and they don't shine when you take photos of them, and the light doesn't reflect on them, so they keep that darkness. They're my favorite pencils to work with when it comes to doing a full pencil piece, so there's that. My favorite art supply ever, I think, are my ballpoint pens. They're so cheap. You can probably get one for 5 pesos, and they're amazing for just sketching and re-evaluating your artworks. I think a good way to elevate them would be to do different colors, and I do that a lot. And then to do a very dark pen over them, and then that's a complete piece. Any brand will do. Just make sure they don't bleed too much. You can test them out when you buy them. At least I have been able to. For watercolors, I recommend the White Nights watercolors. They're just my favorite watercolors so far. I love the vibrancy and I love the color options for the 12 color set, so they're what I recommend the most. Another thing that I recommend is brush pens to do your ink work over your paintings or your colored pencil artworks. I noticed that not a lot of people draw with them. They're mostly in a lot of calligraphers' works, but not for many painters and other artists. My absolute favorite one is the Kuretake Feud pen, number 33. Shout out to Julie for reminding me what it's called. It's an absolutely great brush pen. It keeps its shape even when it's jammed into its cover not right like I do most of the time, and it keeps its shape still. It's nice and juicy, and I've been using it for years. I feel like not a lot of people know about them, so get those if you're in the market for a brush pen. But I also use a lot of Tombow brush pens. Those can go about 100 pesos each. That's around $2.50 US. So it's not that expensive, but it's also not super cheap. But I really recommend buying them. They're so great for finishing off artworks. Can't believe not everyone uses them. My very last question is, how do I record my videos for YouTube? I have a few things that are absolutely important for me when I record. One is my ring light, and it's the Prestigio 16-inch ring light, and it's really important because I draw at night, and so I have to have good lighting for my videos. And this next one is something that I just discovered and I wish I did sooner. This is this stand that I have. It's adjustable so that it can record from top down into my desk. It's also a good alternative for a tripod. I think it's even better than a tripod. It has a heavy base, so it can stand on its own. I just love this thing so much, and I feel like it's essential to me recording my videos. So yeah, that is it for all of you guys' questions. I hope I didn't miss any of them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions for future videos, just leave them in the comment section on any of my videos, and I'll try to do them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again soon.